right, so I probably should have pointed this out, but High Baroque is just another way of saying Rococo. So if the Baroque period is sort of from the 1600 to roughly 1750, the High Baroque is sort of means like at its sort of peak, and that's going to be in about 1725 to about 1760, somewhere in there. I mean, these aren't perfect or anything like that, but this Rococo age is going to be the High Baroque. So that's just the same thing, is what I'm saying right there. This is going to be very quick here, but I just want to add one more thing. That's going to be a nice bridge between the Rococo art and the thing we're going to talk about at the end here, the enlightened despotism. So one of the things that's going to come along is this idea of town planning. Like up till this point, cities, towns, they just sort of grow organically is the word we use. It's not like anybody sits there and plans this out like you're playing a game of Sim City. It's, a building shows up here, a building shows up there, the road sort of follows this and that, and neighborhoods might spring up and things like that. What we're going to get in this era, and it's going to be a combination of both the art, remember, which we're not just trying to do something by nature, we're trying to apply human reason to it to perfect it, and the Enlightenment, which we haven't talked about yet, and that's fair. We're going to get to that here in a little bit later. But again, the Enlightenment of human beings sort of applying their reason to making things better. And what you're going to get is you're going to get this sort of more top-down town planning in a lot of places where instead of letting the city sort of grow from the bottom up organically, wherever people sort of settle, that's where that house, that's where that neighborhood is, that's where that building is, you draw it out much more. So central government, as central government gets stronger, there's now the ability by the bureaucracy, by the kings, by whoever's in charge to do more central planning. And that central planning is largely going to take in many cases, the idea of grids where you sort of draw it out. And here's where we're going to put this, here's where we're going to put that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things, again, we're talking the 1700s here, probably one of the more famous American cities that's a centrally planned city is Washington, D.C., which is going to come along and just before, I think, the 1800s, so late 1700s. It's in that sort of time frame. You get this greater homogeneity in style on a large scale because now it's sort of being planned from the top. This is what I think is graceful. This is what I think is pleasing. This is what I think is sort of the perfection of the whole thing. So it's not going to be a different style in this neighborhood, a different style in this neighborhood. It's going to be the same style for the city. And a good example of this can be St. Petersburg, Russia, because this Peter the Great is kind of popping up at this time. Russia's becoming a thing, and Russia's trying to, under Peter the Great, is trying to be more connected to Europe. So as Peter the Great decides, I'm going to build this brand new city called St. Petersburg, I'm going to plan it out. I'm going to draw it out. Here's how it's going to be. It's all kind of popping up at the same time, which means you're going to get the same sort of style. So here is a picture of St. Petersburg. You got the canals. But again, if you look at those buildings, they might look like different buildings. And they are different buildings. Again, time and all that stuff has changed it. But it's really all that Rococo style or even just that Baroque style. It's very much sort of here's what's going to go here, etc. And then here's another example of this. It's not the town planning, but again, everything, all the pieces fit together because there's somebody in the center who is planning the whole thing out. All right, so that's moving us to this discussion about enlightened despotism. Like now we're going to talk about some people who are at the center who are being able to figure or to plan these things, not just at a sort of a mansion level like this picture or palace level, I guess, or at a city level, but at an entire societal level. So that's the next conversation.